Welcome to the stage number 2 UbD template overview. I hope this tutorial helps you fill out the stage number 2 section of your UbD template and helps you identify the desired results for your unit. Stage number 2 of UbD is all about determining acceptable evidence, or in other words, developing the assessments that will prove that your students have mastered the content. The first section in stage number 2 is performance tasks. In the performance tasks section, you will come up with different assignments and tasks that the students will complete in order to prove their mastery, their meaning making, and their transfer of what they've learned in the unit. So these should be subjective tasks that are actually pretty complex, and they should also align with the transfer goals and the meaning goals. So these are things that can't really be assessed through something like a quiz or a test where there are certain right and wrong answers, but something that requires a little bit more transfer and application and interpreting of the information. You will list the performance tasks in the performance tasks column, and then you will make sure that every task is aligned with transfer and meaning goals. So go ahead and put those codes from stage number 1 here in the left-hand column labeled desired results. And then over in the right hand in evaluative criteria, you're going to put the criteria that the students will be assessed on. So a good way to think about evaluative criteria is that these are the pieces of the rubric. This is what you're going to use to make it just a little bit less subjective and also allow the students to see exactly which pieces of this assignment or performance task are important. The other evidence section is how you're going to do assessments that do not fall under performance tasks. So these are going to be a lot of your knowledge and skills that you identified in stage number 1. And these can be assessed through things like quizzes, tests, homework, journals, anything like that, especially where there is more of a straightforward answer. You don't really need something as complex as a performance task because it's not subjective. Again, in the other evidence section, you will list whatever the assessment is, whether it's a quiz, test, etc., here in the center. On the left, make sure that you put whichever meaning, goal, transfer, skill, knowledge, etc. that it aligns with, and then make sure that you put your criteria over on the right. The last piece of stage number 2 is a grading rubric. So you would select one of the performance tasks and then create the grading rubric that would be used to assess for that specific performance task or assignment. It's important here that you use the evaluative criteria that you identified and put it in the left-hand side where it says criterion 1 through 5 for however many pieces of criteria that you have. And then be very specific for what categorizes as exemplary, sufficient, needs revision, and no evidence for every single piece of criteria. This is really important because it allows the students to receive detailed feedback. It also makes it just a little bit less subjective when you can point to the rubric and explain why a student may have lost points in certain areas. And that concludes UbD stage number 2.